guys, this is Alana LaRue and this is my month 13 update post RNY Gastric Bypass. I had my surgery on May the 3rd of 2016 here in London in the UK. It was done at Clementine Churchill Hospital by Dr. Guy Slater from Streamline Surgical Group, and it was a combination of self-pay and private medical insurance, so it wasn't through the NHS. So my high weight was 132 kilos. My weight at 12 months was 83.8 kilos, and my weight at the end of May, start of June, was 81.5 kilos, which was a 50.5 kilo loss overall. And then in pounds, that's 291 pounds start weight, 184.7 last month, and 179.7 pounds now, for a total loss of 111.3 pounds. And in stones, that is 20 stone 11 pounds start, 13 stone 3 pounds last month, and now 12 stone 12, so I'm into the 12s, which is cool, which is a 7 stone 13 pound loss, so it's like 1 pound away from losing 8 stone, which is like a little person. Crazy. And so last month was a loss overall of 5 pounds, but the previous month, so for all of April, I was actually up a pound on the previous month, so it all sort of works out. So 5 pounds lost last month, which, considering I was travelling for a good portion of it, not so bad. I'm happy, and definitely the biggest loss I've had so far this year, which is great. So this is a bit of a rambly update because I didn't actually plan on doing anything, but I watched CJ Shrink's video yesterday, in which she talked about a lot of people stopping making videos after a year, including herself, or not making them as regularly, and I think a big part of that comes from feeling like I don't actually have anything to share that's particularly groundbreaking. But I think there's still value in making them, and there's certainly value for me in seeing videos from people like Jane, who's, a couple of weeks ahead of me, or a month or two ahead of me. And same with SJ. Yep. And in fact, everyone that I met at WLSFA, which is why I was travelling. I mean, there's not really too much to say about it that hasn't already been said by other people, but I'm so glad that I travelled over to the States and to Portland to go to WLSFA. It was such a cool experience, predominantly just meeting lots of people I knew online, people who I'd never met, but, people I consider friends, and just a huge thank you to everybody that I met and spent time with, because, it's a little bit daunting travelling overseas by yourself and, going somewhere where you don't know anyone, but you all made it so easy. So thank you. I just, love you guys to pieces. What else is there to say? And if anyone else is thinking about travelling to go to one of these events, just cannot recommend it enough. In fact, I managed to score a really cheap airfare through Norwegian, and I have tickets to go to LA for OH in the end of October. £285 return, which is like ridiculous price, but super excited about that. So hopefully you get to see lots more people there. Plus I'm going to go to Disneyland because I have never been. I know, I'm 34, I'm going to be 35 in a month, and I've never been to Disneyland, so it's on my list now. So looking forward to that. I'm just going to go over for a week, so it's just a small holiday, but really looking forward to it. And a big part of that was how great the trip was this time round. I don't know, I never really thought of myself as a traveller. I've lived lots of places. So I lived in Vancouver for a year when I was in my early 20s. I'm obviously from New Zealand, and I live in London now and have done for the last 6 years. But I don't travel a lot, and I think a lot of that comes from being quite a homebody, quite an introvert. I'm not shy, but I do need time in my own surroundings where I feel relaxed, and I find it hard to get that space when I'm traveling. Just staying in hotels or hostels, or being on the move, or constantly trying to do different things. But one of the things that I did on this trip, which was a real conscious decision, and it was something I talked about with my therapist before I went, was gave myself permission to do whatever I felt like. So if I felt like I was overwhelmed or tired, or just felt like I needed to stay in my hotel room, for the day, I gave myself full permission to do that. And I really didn't need to in the end. I think I spent one night, where I would have gone out in the hotel room. But that was a big part of it, because previously I've always worried about, not making the most of things, or not making the most of the time that I have, and not making the most of the experience. But that's more about other people, other people thinking that I didn't make the most of it. But actually for myself, I've got to do what feels right for me, and that's the biggest difference in this trip. And because of that, I really enjoyed it, and I felt like I really wanted to book another trip and something else to look forward to, because I'm a person that does like travelling, on my own terms. So it was brilliant. So WLSFA, amazing. I spent a week in Portland, or just over a week in Portland. Wandering about in Portland was amazing, such a cool little city. And on the Monday following WLSFA, lucky me, got to tag along with Lost Ange Found and Anna VSG, who were hiring a car and going on a hike and out to the coast. So I got to tag along with them. Thank you so much, guys, because that was such a huge NSV for me. I mean, I never thought of myself as someone that could hike, or certainly not since I was a kid. And you guys made that happen, and I did it, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, and it was amazing. So we hiked up to the top of Multnomah Falls, which was pretty hard going, pretty vertical sort of hike, but we made it all the way to the top. Yay! And then going down was a lot easier. It's funny, I was watching the YouTube panel, which was one of the panels that I went to at WLSFA, and it had Ange and Jane and Lauren and Tanya, who I'm sure you all know, talking about YouTube, talking about the community, just talking about the process, and it was hosted or emceed by Phil from Fatkins. Phil, who was such a cool guy. Nice to meet you. And one of the things that really stood out for me was when Ange said about how she does a lot of hiking now, which I think is such a cool thing, but that she had to remind her friends to invite her to these things, because previously she would have said no, and now she is she would have said no because she worried about huffing and puffing and holding people up and that sort of thing. And the funny thing was that Anna and Ange had invited me earlier in the day to go on this hike with them on Monday, because I was still going to be in Portland, and I'd had the same sort of gut reaction. I said yes, but my gut reaction was, oh, I can't do that. I'm going to be huffing and puffing and holding everyone up, and I'm not a person that can do these things. And watching Ange on that panel really changed things for me, because it's like, A, someone else feels this way, and B, I can do this in a way where I'm with people that understand. And so that was such a huge NSV for me. And to be in nature and doing the hike, I mean, it just takes me back to New Zealand and, the things that I used to be able to do as a teenager and, before I put on weight. And I like these things. It's not something I have to do, it was always something I had to do at school or that sort of thing because, you did hiking or tramping as it's called in New Zealand, for school activities and things like that. And it was always a painful exercise for me, and this wasn't, and it just makes me want to get out and do more. That combined with going out to the coast and out to the Oregon coast, which is just stunning, reminded me so much of home, and being able to dip my feet in the water and, listen to the waves, such a calming, sort of tops your soul up with good stuff kind of experience. So it's not something I would have been able to do without the girls hiring a car. So I am just so thankful to them. It's amazing. Other things that are going on this month. So I come back from WLSFA sort of quite motivated. I think I was feeling quite lost and quite struggling before I came. I was binging a fair bit, without going into all the details. I was eating shit. I was eating too much at one go, which wasn't good for me. Didn't feel great. Like I said, I put on weight, and I just wasn't happy because emotionally, that's not good behaviour for me. It's a sign that there's other stuff going on, and there still is other stuff going on. I think after the 1 year point, Jane called it the sophomore slump or the sophomore struggle, and it really does feel like that because it's been such a key focus for so long, and then the weight isn't coming off fast, and you're tired and you're burnt out, and you're tired of focusing on this, and you're tired of not being able to eat whatever you want, and you're tired of everything being measured and monitored, and you're just over it a bit. And that was the point that I got to, and as a way of dealing with that, or as a way of going, fuck this, I ate everything that I could lay my hands on. And I think since coming back, I think, a few people have talked about Dr. Vuong's talks, and, I certainly found those really useful. And the takeaway from those was I've been having a green smoothie every morning, and a big salad either for lunch or dinner. And then just having something else for the other meal, and trying, if I need to, snack on fruit or veggies. And the reason I like it, and it's not so much because it's a diet or that sort of thing, I like it because A, it gives me some structure, but B, being vegetarian, it's the way I want to eat. I haven't been tracking, I haven't been, following calories or that sort of thing, but I'm just sort of going, look, what are the foods with the most amount of goodness, least amount of processing, that I can have. And if I do that for 2 meals out of 3, the third meal doesn't matter quite so much. And then I've still got that freedom to eat what I want to eat. And it's been great. It seems to be working, or it seems to be working well enough for me. Let's see how it is after another month and see how I feel. Loss-wise, nothing really has happened this month, but, being that it's the 12th, I'm a bit late doing this. Loss-wise, not much has happened, but I've also been out quite a bit. I've had drinks with people, something about the sun being out makes me want a nice glass of rosé and to chill out a little bit. I'm also, I don't know, I think, and I asked the question at the panel at WLSFA, and it does seem to be something everyone goes through, but I'm sort of in this weird in-between place where I don't, I look at photos of when I started this journey and I don't recognise that person, but then I look at photos of myself now, or I look in the mirror, or, I hold up clothes that fit but look like they shouldn't, and I don't recognise that person either, and it just leaves me feeling a little bit lost. And that's not just a weight thing, that's a life thing. I'm in the UK, I'm away from home. I've got my indefinite leave, so I can stay here indefinitely, which is amazing, but I don't know what I want to do. And, on the one hand, there's so much that I love about my job and the challenge of it, but equally I think I'm starting to get a little bit bored, and that's scary for me to admit to myself, because I have a habit of, when I get bored, just drastically changing something. And part of what I'm working on with my therapist is actually being okay with a little bit of uncertainty and a little bit of boredom, and just not feeling like everything needs to be fixed, and that's sort of the biggest thing at the moment. So not really any great theme to this video, not really any succinct points, but that's where I am at 13 months post-op RNY. Hopefully I can stick to doing a monthly update, but I'll come in with it whenever I can. Alright, have a great week, guys.